Welcome back to the latest episode of the Haus of Wrestling Podcast, everybody. It is me, Haus of Wrestling's Nick Hausman, joined as always by my good friend Innes McVey. Innes, welcome back into the house.
Thank you, Nick. I've had a nice, lovely day watching that kickoff show yesterday, unlike the situation that I heard that you had yesterday.
Oh, we're going to get into it here today. And by the way, if you are watching us live in video form, you are a ClubHaus member. Thank you for becoming a ClubHaus member. You can watch the show be recorded live in video form and chat along with us as the show goes along in the comments section. Go over there. We appreciate your patronage, but of course, you may also be listening to us for free in podcast form or after the fact when we share it on YouTube. Anywhere you hit, if you hit subscribe on any of that, you've done good by us, right?
If you're listening to this, thank you. So, I mean, I'm happy either way, but subscribing helps, but also thank you for listening in general.
All right, we got a lot to get to. As Innes said, yes, there was the kickoff event yesterday. We also have some more information about Rossy Ogawa's termination, or Rossy or Rossy?
I think it's Rossy, but I'm not 100%
Rossy.
sure, if I'm honest.
Rossy.
I think it's Rossy, yes.
It's not a name.
One way or the other. We know who it is.
I'm well aware of who he is now. About a month ago, you could have put that name in a lineup and then pointed to me out and be like, tell me the person who founded the like,
That's fair.
Ted Turner? I don't know. Also, Scott D'Amore was terminated. We'll talk about that as well later on in the show. But first, before we get into all of that stuff, we have Vince McMahon's scandals. It used to just be scandal,
the streak continues. We will get to a podcast one day where we don't have to mention his name, but it's not today.
Well, I think we should get it out of the way first, right?
Of course. Absolutely.
I mean, because this situation is just going to keep spiraling. This is a multi-layered onion. We are just getting going. Now, I say scandals because we have the Janelle Grant suit, which really kind of opened up the bottle for a lot of other stuff to come out. And one of the big things in the wake of that has been the Ashley Massaro scandal. Now, Vice News, back in it here, they have unearthed an unreleased statement by Massaro in which she says the following. During my time with the WWE, I observed Vince McMahon making out with other divas in the locker room, but he never paid attention to me, and I assumed I was not his type. This changed after my Playboy cover. Well, Playboy cover was released. I was fortunate enough to be allowed to fly on the company jet and stay at the same hotels as the executives for a period of time so that I could get home faster to spend more time with my daughter. On one of these occasions, Vince was attempting to get me alone with him in his hotel room late at night, and I felt extraordinarily uncomfortable. He began calling the hotel room phone and my cell phone nonstop. I called Kevin Dunn to explain the situation, and he said I should tell Vince I was not feeling well and would see him on TV the next day, so I did. Pause for a moment. Kevin Dunn, breathtaking.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I did want to bring up Kevin Dunn quickly because it's interesting that he retired from WWE. I only just thought of this in the last couple of days. It's interesting his retirement came just before it all came out.
Ooh, buddy, a lot of questions about Kevin Dunn. You know, because he'd been there for so long, and he had, he
was essentially Vince's right-hand man in a lot of ways. So I mean, undoubtedly he must have known stuff like that. I mean, it said so in the statement. So
there's the scenes in the suit where he's showing photos to the production team, and like he's the head of production, and he's also an executive. And then you hear stories like this, and Kevin Dunn not done being a figure in the Vince McMahon scandals, I feel, by a long shot.
Not in the slightest.
So immediately after that night, Vince started writing my promos for me, she says. Vince does not write promos for female wrestlers. That is the job of the creative department. That's its own kind of misogyny at the time. And he certainly wouldn't have, under normal circumstances, written a promo for me. But he did, and the promos were written with the clear intention of ruining my career. I brought the first script Vince McMahon wrote for me to the WWE employee in charge of creative at that time, Michael Hayes, and he said, "You're not saying this. Who the expletive wrote this?" And I told him that Vince did. He said, "Well, kid, these are the breaks," meaning that Vince wanted to end my career and destroy my reputation on my way out. He's known for this type of behavior and also did this to Redacted upon her departure from WWE. In addition, after that night, each time I walked by him, he would make vulgar sexual comments that were clearly designed to make me uncomfortable. Michael Hayes is now in the conversation. And, you look at how John Laurinaitis is reacting right now. When actually get into the mix. Here, also in relation to the Ashley Massaro story, his lawyer denied that there was a cover-up by WWE. Like, he didn't like the term, I guess. Didn't like the term cover-up, but said, yeah, they all knew, right?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you have to assume, like, if you're admitting that you knew, you can't really then go and say, oh, but we didn't cover it up. Especially when I believe at the time, and I believe when after Ashley sadly took her own life, the WWE put out a statement saying that they'd never heard about her alleging the rape or anything like that. So it's all, regardless, it makes everyone on that side, puts everything they say into question.
Yes, and the Vice News people also found out that the NCIS, which is the National Criminal Investigation Service, I should have written that down. They looked into this, and there was a 2019 investigation. It ended in 2020, and Vice News was not able to get the results of this investigation into her allegations that came out. But if the FOIA request goes in and they're going to get it back, then we'll all know here very shortly. So, that is also a lingering bomb out there, but the net gets wider, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like I feel like I said it on Wednesday, this is not just a situation that's coming from the Janelle Grant stuff. This is decades of stuff, and I feel like we're only really at the tipping point of what we're going to see here in terms of not just what Vince did, but what the whole company has done to perpetuate this.
Well, one man who is decidedly separating himself and putting full distance between himself and Vince McMahon is Bret Hart. And Bret spoke with Slate. They did kind of a lengthy written piece, and he condemned Vince, said there were a lot of, parallels between The Godfather and how he'll be made a joke of, like Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, where it's like, what did this guy do kind of deal. But there were a couple of things he said here that I thought were really of note. Somebody warned him months ago that something bad was coming for Vince McMahon. Now, how bad did they know it was? Like Bret saying he found out, which I believe when the Wall Street Journal article came out. I totally believe that. But how again, like how known was this?
I feel like based on everything we've heard, I feel like they've been taken by surprise as much as everyone else has. Because it feels like they knew there was stuff there, but from everything we've heard, it sounds like they didn't know it was this severe. Whether or not I believe that, that's up to you. But
and again, it's like levels, right? Like I believe a lot of the talent that's not like in those executive circles. I think that there was definitely a dual reality there, right? Like Bret's a Hall of Famer. These legends, right? Like they got their own stories. They're like, oh, you guys are just catching up. Yeah, it's been screwy forever. But that's the thing is, so Bret, there's at the end of it as well, there's a real reflective kind of like moment where he has to really accept that Vince is a bad person, right? He says he lost all respect for him, couldn't shake his hand if he walked up to him right now, and really had to think about the Rita Chatterton allegations, the former female referee who alleged that Vince raped her. And Bret for years thought, no way with this guy's power and how much is at stake here would this guy jeopardize everything by acting like this, right? By assaulting this woman, right? So he didn't want to believe it. But now he believes it. And there's this moment at like a convention, I guess he describes, where he apologized to her and told her he was wrong. And that is so powerful,
I feel like whenever you're confronted, I feel like with anyone, whether it's, especially as someone with this amount of power and with this amount of responsibility, you would never think that, they would do this kind of thing. Just morally as a person, but B, with their position and with their power, that they would go ahead and try and like do something that would be so ruinous to that. So I can't exactly blame him for defending him for so long. But when you're faced with these sort of allegations in this sort of way, you have to kind of just brutally confront it.
Yeah. And I encourage everyone to read this. This is, I think this is one of the better maybe the best response so far from a legend. I've been not thrilled with. I won't nitpick and name names right now because I know everybody's going through their own trauma, but I don't think everybody has necessarily responded to this situation with the same kind of reflection that Brett seems to be demonstrating here. And it's a good article. It's a good read. I was happy to see Brett. You know.
I feel like maybe some people are like still kind of processing it or whatnot. I mean, some people may have not even read the lawsuit. I mean, Triple H apparently said he hasn't, so you never know. But I would hope at least the people who are talking about this kind of stuff have, and at least familiar with the situation.
Wouldn't it have been great to be able to talk to Triple H or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson directly?
Yes.
About the situation.
That would be really helpful. I wonder where you could do that.
In a media environment like this, I would pay almost $1,000 for that kind of opportunity just to do it.
Yes. And this purely hypothetical situation.
Hypothetical situation. So yesterday was a ride, my friend. It was a ride and it was a couple flights, to be honest. It was
I heard it was quite a journey for you. I can imagine it was quite laborious.
I'm the most public of the journeys, but I was not alone. There were many people that went on a similar journey as me yesterday from the media. So this was very. I mean, it sounds like based from what the Observer's saying, this thing was planned for a couple weeks. And I'd heard from somebody and other sources as well. This thing had been planned like just before the Vince allegation story broke in the Wall Street Journal. So take that for whatever it is. But this was very last minute announced to the public and to the press. Well, I found out on SmackDown on Friday, like everybody else. And I emailed the PR team immediately. They got back to me. They said, here's where you are, SVP, let us know. There was a full list of talent, and again, they're like, not all media opportunities, one-on-ones will be available. That line is in every media release I've ever received. And I've gone to every major WWE event for I think like 5-6 years now, maybe longer. And there's definitely times where you go and you don't get everybody, right? Like there,
that's to be expected.
Yeah, you got a certain amount of time. You got so many people. Absolutely. Maybe I get Seth, like at the Rumble prep. Maybe I get Cody. I don't get Hunter, right? They're like, well, there are people in the room that didn't ask any questions, Nick. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Thanks for the time. So I get that, right? But and I had texted privately with somebody at the company and I was because I didn't get the credential official email until like Wednesday night. I had a message on my phone to check in for my flight before I received official confirmation from WWE, right?
Yeah.
And so I reached out and I was assured I'd be given access, and I was like, all right, let's click the button. We're going to Vegas, right? Click the button, going to Vegas. Later that night, we get the email. The email noticeably does not include any of the talent now listed.
I was going to ask you about this because on the original email, I remember you showing me, I think both The Rock and Triple H were on it. And I don't think they've done any interviews. I haven't seen like any mainstream interviews with them. So I wonder if they just pulled them off entirely.
I think on Wednesday, I read you the full list of people on the air.
You did.
Remember I pulled up the email. It was like 10 people.
Yeah.
Right?
Rock and Triple H were both on it, I'm fairly sure. And I've seen no interviews with them, not even with wrestling outlets, like nowhere. So I wonder if something's changed.
Here's what I think changed in is I don't think that again, moral corporate balance, right?
Yeah.
I want to hear The Rock and Triple H respond to this Vince McMahon allegation. I think the talent and I think the fans deserve to hear their candid thoughts on what is going on with them.
Absolutely.
They want everyone to talk about WrestleMania, right? Sure. And if they'd have put The Rock and Hunter out with Nick Hausman, as I just told you, that is exactly what I wanted to talk to them about. That is all I would have talked to them about if given the opportunity. To be very, very fair, right? Yeah. There are other talent there. Like I don't need to talk to Cody again about it. I already got Cody's take, right? We can sit here. We talk about, hey, you can finish your story, buddy. Right? We have that talk. I don't mind. How's Pharaoh doing? Right?
And everyone's gonna have that talk with them,
Sure, but there's people there, and look again. You're right. I didn't get him, but nobody got him, and it is I don't know. And I think that I don't know. because it is a very promoter thing to just push through. You know, these are they're storytellers, right? These are professional magicians. Their job is to get you to look one place because they don't want you looking at another. That is what they do for a living. That's why you see somebody get hit, but you don't know where the sound comes from, right? You know, it's all this misdirection constantly. And we'll see how it plays out. It does feel like more people are buzzing about Mania and less about Vince on the other side of this thing, right?
Inadvertently, I think it has worked out from that favor. I don't think that has, based on what's been reported and whatnot, I don't think that was their original intention, even if they maybe swerved into this. I mean, it feels like even this whole storyline, it feels like they swerved into this somewhat after the whole SmackDown ordeal. Because watching that kickoff show last night, I can't help but feel this was not their original plan. I don't think it was.
No. That people ask me all weekend if they're like, do you know what's going on? I'm like, dude, I don't know. To me, it feels like they've been winging it. You know, honestly,
it does feel like that a little bit.
It feels like they've just been kind of taking it day by day. To me, man, I don't know. I love Meltzer's little anecdote about what they've been trying to do here about making Cody kind of in like this Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan type figure, the underdog, which we've talked about in the past here on the show. Yeah, I mean, fans, look, that was just kind of a loose idea.
Yeah, of course.
But if you also believe that Dave's report that on like January 3rd, when he came back, The Rock like agreed to this match to headline WrestleMania. Well, how did that fall apart, right? How are both things true? We wanted to like elevate Cody to the main event by making him this underdog, but we also were going to do Rock Roman. Like, are you going to do both? I don't know.
There's so much conflicting information about this, both from the company and reports. It lends itself to having to make up theories because we don't really have any clear answers. This is the thing.
Yeah, it's so I'm watching because I for what it's worth, by the way, just to wrap up the kind of Nick Hausman narrative of this. I got there, they gave me this red wristband. They said you have a general admission ticket. And I was like, does that mean that I'll be getting time with interviews afterwards? They said, unfortunately, we won't have enough space for one-on-ones. And I was like, well, I'm going to go home then because I want to go be with my wife and dog. And that's fair. That's honest truth. Like, I got home at 1 a.m. as opposed to 6 a.m. All right. And I am fine with missing on the thing I could have watched it from my couch. Right. Yeah. And the access they gave me. And look, I talked to 3 PR people on site there about this, and they were wonderful people. They were all very understanding. There was no heat with me leaving early to go see my wife and dog. They were very cool about that. And then after the fact, a contact I have at WWE, very understanding of the miscommunication of the situation, generously offered to fully reimburse all of my travel expenses because it was fairly obvious that there was an based off of my history and the way that the messages were exchanged, very obviously some form of miscommunication. So it was a bummer. I'm really sad I couldn't get the content I wanted to get for everybody and hopefully try to get some of the answers or at least the questions asked everyone wanted asked. But we're playing the long game here, as Dwayne says. And we'll see how this continues to play out. But they did right by me, at least in regards to the travel and everything. And so I really wanted to call that out and say I appreciated it. But back to what happened at this press conference now that I have watched it. Rock Roman seems fine. Nobody's talking about it. Doesn't it kind of feel like they set up Rock Rollins too, or no?
To me, it kind of felt like they were going for Roman and Rock versus Cody and Seth, which is a strange matchup. It would work because I mean, you'd probably get the best match out of Rock in that because a tag team match is probably the best way to protect him. But it's a really strange because you're not giving them Roman. You're not giving the people who want Rock Roman that, and you're then having to delay Cody and Roman till the next night. It's a strange. Again, we're going back to this. It kind of feels like they're winging it. It doesn't feel like they're really setting the seats for something properly here.
It's vibe creative. It's all about the vibes of the day. If you're gonna do the tag match, that feels more like an Elimination Chamber match to me. Doesn't feel like a Mania match, right? It feels like the match on the way to WrestleMania, right?
Yeah. Because Roman's not planned for WrestleMania. That was for Elimination Chamber. That was the last word. Yeah.
Right.
So unless they're changing that,
they're winging it. They're winging it.
True. We don't know. Plans that were there a month ago are in the bin now. So Who knows?
Don't take me. I have no information this match is happening in the chamber. I'm just saying it feels more like a match that would happen at the chamber, right? And if Roman's not booked for the show, I mean, let's get wacky here. Does Rock get in the chamber to try to earn his way into a shot against Seth Rollins?
Seth Rollins. Could you imagine? CM Punk goes out and they put the fucking Rock in there instead. My God.
Dude, it makes the most sense, honestly, because like
True.
You got the Rock and Roman. Everybody's been talking shit about Seth. You little kid, get in the corner, take your little toy title, put it on a Barbie doll, whatever they want to say, and like to put him in a match against The Rock and potentially beat The Rock would really put a lot of that kind of mess. I think it would pay off a bit of that mess, honestly.
It would. I just feel like it would be really weird to then not have. What do you do regarding Roman and Rock together then? Because I feel like you have to do something with them this year, even if it's not a match. You have to put something there for them.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, look, again, now people seem to still think you could do like Rock Roman night one. But again,
I don't think that's happening now.
But the only way you would be able to get there is like, again, if you did like, because a tag match at the chamber makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you could have a breakdown between Rock and Roman on the same side, and that sets up some kind of, we got to settle this tribal, who's the tribal chief on night one to walk into night two and put it all on the line against Cody Rhodes, right? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
But again, that would have to, you'd have to, and if they're not going to do it at the chamber, happen on Raw, biggest SmackDown of all time, mega dream match, you know?
Why not? At this point, they're winging it. Why not? Put it on, I don't know, Superstars, whatever. What's that? Is it Superstars or main event now?
It's main event, I believe. And,
main event. Put it on that. Fantastic.
Could just be
WWE Speed. Use it on that. There we go. 5-minute match for The Rock. Beautiful. I mean, his Eric Rowan match would have fit for WWE Speed. You know, it could work.
I love that WWE Speed is on X, because when I say it, I just feel like some kind of Gen Z drug dealer. It's like, hey, you want to? It
does sound like you're saying some sort of weird lingo.
You're a little WWE Speed on X, my friend.
Oh God!
You get it on the TikToks.
What a weird timeline we've got to.
That was also at the press conference they announced WWE Speed on X. So just to put a button on this, again, it does seem like Cody Roman night 2, Rollins someone night 1. Where is The Rock in all this? Do they just kind of hold off now until SummerSlam? You know, or the night after on Raw, or I don't know. Weird.
They could do a Saudi Arabia show. I think that would not be a great idea, but it'd be good for money. But I don't think in terms of like a show and for the audience, it would be very good. Yeah. They could wait till next year's WrestleMania, but again, the boat might have sailed by then. We did say that last year with Cody and Roman, and it's been fine. So maybe they could, but it feels like they're having to change stuff very last minute, and I don't really know where Rock fits into things right now.
Really, Ripley came out and said the obvious. If the men don't monopolize the main event picture, I sure would love to have a match.
It was so good. That was my favorite part of that show was Rhea's stuff. It was great.
I love how she's becoming female Undertaker. It's just a good look, you know?
It's wild because I saw Rhea back when she like first had her WWE debut in NXT UK, and she was very different, and it's wild to see how different she was then to now. Her growth over the last couple of years has been insane.
Well, she got confronted by Becky Lynch, and that seems like the direction now, right? Nia Jax, Rhea, and then Becky kind of seems heavy-handedly is going to win this Elimination Chamber.
I feel like you have to at least put a tease in for it now, because otherwise there's not really been any other seeds sown in regards to what Rhea's doing, and Becky's the obvious choice.
Last note coming out of this presser is, CM Punk and Big E were just delightful. Just delightful. They were both so good. CM Punk kind of looks like Nick Khan right now, which weirds me out.
I can see it a little bit. Yeah, I do see it.
Like, I wish I could do a side by side right now, but it's like the button down. He's got the slick back hair, and I'm just like, is that like you just go to WB? You look like a pit boss the moment you work for TKO now. Is that the vibe? I guess so. But they were wonderful. Punk was really good. I've been kind of coy on is it the best way to use Punk while he's injured? And I was horribly wrong. I think this is a great way to use Punk. He's obviously gotten a lot more comfortable in this position, working and doing the MMA commentary. And
for sure.
And he came across to me more like he was in his MMA coverage mode than like if it didn't feel like he was trying to play like Booker T or pro. He was covering it like a sport, and it felt like that, you know.
Like back in the day when he used to do commentary during his first WWE run, it always kind of felt like it was CM Punk the wrestler on commentary, whereas this felt like it was CM Punk the commentator doing commentary, which works so much better. He's very good at analysis, and even the little like jibes you get out of him from like his wrestling stuff. Like I think right at the end, after they were all getting escorted off the stage, Punk makes a jab at Rock about, you know, punching people or something like that, and Rock just looks over and like stares at him or something like that. It's like little moments like that Punk's great at. And I don't want to see him. I mentioned this on Wednesday. I don't think I really want to see him too much on commentary, but this sort of minor roles, maybe for pay-per-views or stuff like that, could be good.
I thought, again, it's just like his presence is good, right? But he doesn't feel like a wrestler, you know? So just weird. But Big E, I liked him bringing up the Huber family, the work that Cody's done with them. Sure. I thought that was very genuine. And again, like, there was just a tone. I think having Pat McAfee there, who does a lot of like real sports kind of events, there was a tone with that panel.
Did you notice the interesting thing they did with Pat McAfee when he was being introduced by Michael Cole? Michael Cole said he was undefeated at WrestleMania, which is not true. Vince McMahon beat him at WrestleMania 38. So that was an interesting little point that I noticed.
Well, Vince is slowly being erased.
So that's interesting.
Vince, he really shit the bed with this one.
Let's be honest. It's probably for the best we forget that match because,
So, big news broke on Wednesday. Time is a flat circle. Yeah, late Wednesday after we recorded, I believe right after we recorded it, was the news broke that Scott D'Amore had been terminated by TNA. Now, I very quickly had multiple people on that call reaching out to me, talking to me about this. Very, very confused. A lot of questions about why Scott was terminated by the company by Anthem Sports Entertainment, because he has he's been so rah-rah. He's been the guy behind all of the TNA stuff. I believe it was PW Insiders reporting that Scott had tried to buy the company at one point. I had heard that as well. I heard a couple things. So obviously, I've been following Scott for a while now. Now, I had a report I ran for Wrestling Inc. I interviewed a former Impact referee, Chris Levin, who is not great, guys. I understand he's a piece of shit, but he came to me with a story about how he felt he was fired by Impact for speaking up about Scott and Don's behavior as part of a neutral third-party investigation that turned out to not be legitimate. So, it's always lingered in the back of my head, right? What has been, it's just, and in light of the Vince scandal stuff, it's even weighed heavier on me. Kind of a lot of the things I learned about while looking into that particular not so neutral third-party investigation of Scott and Don. But it does not look like that has, I'm not going to say it doesn't have anything to do with it, because I've heard a couple other things where there was just like, there were people that had issues with personal choices Scott had made in his life. I'll say, to be polite. It does sound like financial. I had heard about the buying TNA thing. I had heard it was framed to me like it wasn't the fact I think he wanted to buy TNA. I think it was the valuation of it. But, again, this is just kind of from what I've been hearing about it. Like, I think they felt it was. It kind of sounds to me like he wanted them to pay more money to create a better product. But if they didn't want to do that, he would buy it at kind of a lower rate. And I don't know that they loved that idea.
No, I can't imagine they would. No.
And I think that is kind of what framed this. I've also heard about some other moves that hopefully I'll be able to report on here very soon within Anthem over the past month that just say to me they're looking to just maybe cut back a little in general on TNA. So they've got a new president in place. This guy, Anthony Cicerone, I think it is. He doesn't have experience running a pro wrestling company. I believe he worked back in the day on like facilitating some agreements with WCW or something.
Yeah, there was a WWE thing. I think it was some TV deal back in the late.
Oh, it was the Fight Network. Yeah, it was the Fight Network, and so I don't really know anything about him. But yes, there were a lot of talents that were upset. I do know that there were two phone calls. There were actually video calls. The first one with Just Talent was it was run by, I'm told, Tommy Dreamer and Gail Kim, and it got really chaotic after they told everybody that Scott was going to leave the company or was no longer with the company. I've also heard that they were told, I believe in the second call, that Scott had decided to step down, which is not publicly what they said. We don't know why Scott would have been pushed into a position to maybe force his hand to resign or step down. Who knows? So the talent reacted, and they had to be muted, and then they got to talk one at a time. And then at the end of the call, they had to get to the next call, which was an all talent plus production people meeting. So it was going to be an even bigger, wider breath call. Tommy made some kind of comment to the extent of, if anybody wants to talk about their releases in light of this, we're happy to have those conversations behind closed doors. Didn't say that if anybody wants to release, they can have it, which I had a couple people come to me initially and say, that's what they said. And I go, what? And they're like, yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? And then I looked into it. I don't believe that's the case. So, but it does sound like they'd be open to the conversations. And then in the second call with the talent and the employees and the staff and everybody, many Anthem executives were on the call. It was just a rah-rah speech. They tried to get everybody excited, I guess, about the new direction. They brought up how Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian had done like crossover shows on Anthem. They want to do more cross promotion, and we'll see where it goes. The vibe right now is very weird around TNA, its future, what it looks like. I know they're going to, I guess, try to do a big announcement here soon, said Fightful, but hey, there you go. That's everything I know about it.
Yeah, it's a very weird situation. My concern with it is I think the last time this kind of something similar to this happened was when Sinclair bought Ring of Honor, and that obviously didn't end too well for Ring of Honor. I mean, it's worked out kind of now, but from their sort of where they started with Sinclair and where they ended, it wasn't great. So I hope it doesn't go that direction. But, you know, Impact have had a lot, or TNA have now had a lot of momentum with the rebrands. So here's hoping.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. All right, quick notes about AEW here. First of all, Sting and Darby Allin defeated Big Bill and Ricky Starks on Wednesday night to become the AEW World Tag Team Champions. They got attacked by Young Bucks, long drawn-out attack. And then now this is all to set up the big match at Revolution here in a couple weeks. What do you think? Sting, should he keep the titles, go out, go champion? What do you think? Should lose? How do you feel about it?
I think he should probably lose. I feel like the tag team the title scene as a whole has kind of been a bit weird the last couple of months in AEW. I feel like they need like a definitive champions that are around and can like be the sort of centerpiece of it right now. I feel like having, as much as it would be a nice moment to have Sting and Darby retain it and then vacate it, I think it's probably better if Young Bucks get it. You can maybe have a nice moment of Sting putting them over or whatever, and then they are, you know, the new centerpieces of that tag team division. Because over the last couple of months, as much as Big Bill and Ricky Starks have been good, I feel like it's been a very sort of weird booking as of late with that division.
Yeah. Well, the other note I wanted to bring up, the Observer here saying that a person close to the situation about Rossy Ogawa's exit from Stardom says that you have no idea how upset wrestlers and the media are about Tony Khan sticking it to Rossy on social media. He was celebrating Rossy being taken out, as I guess he saw him as someone who was sending talent to WWE over AEW, right? And we're finding out how loyal some talent seem to be to this guy. And I don't know. This is an interesting fight Tony's picture this time.
Yeah, so apparently the whole situation now, Rossy's talked to, I believe, Tokyo Sport about it. The entire situation, the idea that he's poaching talent to WWE isn't strictly true. The more idea is that he apparently, for about 6 months ago, said he was going to hand in his notice to Stardom. And then they set a date, I believe it was the 17th of February. And then at their last show, Bushiroad basically just said to him, we're just going to let you go. Because apparently he'd been talking to talent about poaching them for the new promotion that he's setting up, which is partly why Kairi left, because she knew Rossy Ogawa wouldn't be involved in Stardom, and also partly why Giulia left for the same reason, why she's now going to WWE, but helping him with his new promotion. So it's a very interesting situation.
But both Giulia and, well, Kairi's already in WWE. Giulia seems to be eventually WWE bound. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying I think Tony sees Rossy as somebody who just prefers to work with WWE for whatever reason than AEW. It does. Like, if these women are so loyal to him that they're following him there, they're obviously listening to him when it comes to where should you go to work. And for whatever reason, these women are winding up in WWE.
Yeah. It's a weird, because like there's been stories about how they've like tried to get people from Stardom. I believe at the last Forbidden Door, they tried to get people from Stardom, but there was a pay-per-view that day. And then Stardom wanted Chris Statlander for a show, and AEW didn't get back to them, but that was also around the time she got injured. So I don't know if maybe it's just a massive miscommunication or what, but it does feel like there's something more there.
All right, everybody. That brings us to the end of the show here today. We have Natalya. Actually, not at the end. We're going to play Natalya here after I do a little club housekeeping. And Natalya is one of many interviews that are starting to become available on the Haus of Wrestling YouTube channel. But if you want to get access to all our interviews, our news, our podcasts early or exclusive, you got to become a ClubHaus member. So go over to patreon.com/Haus of Wrestling. Tiers start at $5. You get access to the shows. You get everything I just said. The Discord. We're chatting it up there. I'm going to be adding my interview with Candice LeRae to the Clubhouse here later this afternoon. That's really fun. The New Day makes a cameo in that. And Matthew England, our gold tier member, is going to be joining me Monday night after Raw to talk about the show. Stay up late. We love Matthew. We love Matthew.
We do.
And we are
Matthew's
absolute best. And I know he's from England. He's not. His last name's just England. But
I was going to say, if he's staying up till 4 a.m. to podcast, that is commitment. Because even I don't do that.
He's not English. I don't believe so. I don't know. I've never.
We'll find out.
I've been messaging with Matthew. Very nice guy. We've never spoken. It'll be a first time. So you want to watch that? We're not going to release that anywhere except on the Patreon, on the Clubhouse.
Exclusive content. But not that kind of exclusive content.
No. And I'm going to...
Well, maybe if Clubhouse takes a little change direction, who knows? Maybe.
Oh, boy. Hey, only House. So... So, yeah. So, all of that, come join us. We're having fun, and it's going to be a great time. And, of course, if you're listening to us in podcast form, go subscribe, rate, review, comment. We will try to read some of your comments here I didn't pull up any for today, but next Friday we'll do some comments. So if you want to be a part of the show, you have your voice heard, go leave a comment on the Apple Podcast. And is there anything you want to put over here before I throw it in Natalya?
I'm all good. Just my usual at @Innes_McVey on social media.
Wonderful. I'm at Nick_Hausman. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you on next Wednesday. And here she is, Natalya. Hausman here with Haus of Wrestling live at the Royal Rumble. And I am joined right now by a multi-time Guinness book.
Six-time Guinness World Record.
You're starting to sound like Booker T when you say stuff like that. You know that?
That's a great comparison because I'm a massive Booker T fan, so thank you so much.
You're welcome, Natalya. Well, outside of your many, many records, there's a huge news story that I believe our friend Sean Ross Sapp, who's around here somewhere, broke, that you are working with Rory Culkin on a Hart family film. I was just wondering, can you confirm or deny the report?
I can't really confirm and I can't really deny, but I listen, I have a lot of pride with my family, and I feel like for me, there is something I'm very passionate about that I've been working on for over a year. So I can't confirm, can't deny, but my family is, when you look at the history of the Hart family and you look at just the stories that could be told about our family and growing up in the family and being a woman growing up in the family, to me, the possibilities are endless. So when I say that I'm working on something near and dear to my heart, like I said, I can't confirm or deny it, but I am working on something really special right now.
Is it documentary or scripted, I guess?
I can't really say. But with the Hart family, there's never a shortage of material for entertainment, and it's, to me, like, what I like watching as a viewer. I love watching documentary style things, but I did watch The Iron Claw, and I thought, wow, that movie just blew me away. I couldn't believe the stories that were told within that movie and what I got out of it. And so I think, again, love a good documentary, but also enjoy the format of a movie like The Iron Claw.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the Harts and the Culkins, because there's a lot of famous Culkins too,
yes,
right?
And they're big wrestling fans as well.
Yeah, because Macaulay and Rory both spent some time working with creative, right?
Actually, the Macaulay and his brothers were there when I won the championship at the Barclays Center. They were sitting front row when I won the women's championship at the Barclays Center. So, like, I feel like I love and respect anybody that has respect for what we do. And it's funny because I've been watching and seeing, like, these interviews with Zac Efron talking about, like, oh my God, I have this whole new respect for what wrestlers do, because he would have never known that world other than this role. Yeah. And now he's saying, like, wow, learning from Chavo Guerrero, who's a third generation wrestler, like what they do and how hard they work, and that, like, for us in this industry, there is no off season, and it is very grueling, and it is very, like, hard. So I like that there's a new light being shed on it, that people can understand this world a little differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me shift gears a little bit. You and your husband, TJ Wilson, shared, well, actually, I think it was you who shared the videos of a recent training session at the dungeon. A lot of notable names in there. Let's start with Jade. How is Jade progressing? How far do you think she is from being in-ring ready for the WWE?
When I say Jade is going to be amazing, I truly feel that she's got something so special about her. And, like, when Jade came, you know, she asked if she could come down for a training session and she wanted to work with us. I thought, like, that was so cool because it was right after her mom had passed away. Yeah. And so I thought, like, you know, after having lost, you know, I've lost my dad, and I remember when I was going through that time, it was such a difficult time for me in my life. And I said to TJ, I said, the fact that Jade, like, is going through this very traumatic thing in her life, but she's still very driven and focused on the work that she wants to do in WWE and having this restart and you know, this new focus on what we're doing. I just have so much respect for that, and she's going to be amazing. I think she's going to blow everybody away.
All right. Well, last question. They say I got one more. Then I'll ask you about the other guy in that class that got a lot of attention, and that was Ricky Starks. Now, Ricky Starks doesn't even work for WWE. He was the only AEW star in that mix. Talk to me a little bit about how that came about, and is he somebody that you would like to see in the WWE fold?
For me, you know, it's with the dungeon, with what TJ and I do, it's invite only, and it's kind of like, it's funny because it's like you got to know somebody that comes to our ring that's like, hey, phone a friend, ask a friend, can they come? So it's like, it's not something you can just drop in. It's not an LA Fitness where you're like, hey, I'm gonna pay the drop-in fee. It's just a very, like, kind of, because it's just this one day a week that we train right now. It's not really a school, it's a workshop. Yeah. So when Ricky came, listen, anybody that has passion, that you know, like, I feel like Ricky has so much passion for the industry. I was totally honored to have him come train with us, and he's very, very talented. And so I would, of course, love to see him, you know, doing what he loves. I know he's very good friends with Cody Rhodes, but I think Ricky, like, has a really great, like, total package. He can speak, he looks great, he moves great, he's passionate. Anybody that wants to train on their days off, I give them nothing but credit. You know, whether it's Moose, whether it's Angelo Dawkins. By the way, I have to kick Angelo Dawkins out of our ring every week because he literally won't get out of the ring because he trains so hard. He wants to train for like 3 hours straight. Tahuti off of, you know, you guys know him as, from Hit Row.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So Tahuti trains with us. BFAB, Bree, she trains with us. Liv Morgan's trained with us. Liv is one of our OGs. Moose, who's now the TNA champion. We get a lot of people from Ring of Honor, TNA. If you love wrestling and you love this industry and you want to work hard, we're all about that.
Hey, Natalya, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much.